Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at the famous Birdland Jazz Club here in New York City. Blessing the band stage this week is alto saxophonist, educator, and composer Vincent Herring. Now, Mr. Herring has been a staple in the jazz game for well over 40 years, backing the likes of Mr. Horace Silver, the great Cedar Walton, as well as the great Lionel Hampton. Tonight, he's playing with a very special ensemble, which he's entitled Something Else. And what he's doing is he's diving into his real love of soul jazz music. Now, on the band stage is the legendary David Kikoski on piano, Paul Bolenbach on guitar, Essiet Essiet on bass, Jeremy Pelt on trumpet, and the great James Carter on tenor saxophone. I had a few minutes to sit down and talk to Vincent about the origins of soul jazz, why he loves this music so much, and we'll reflect on one of his heroes and one of his mentors, the great Nat Adderley. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of Something Else, featuring saxophonist Vincent Herring, live here on the Pace Report, reporting from Birdland here in New York City. something else. Tell me about this particular set of music that you're playing here at Birdland.
Okay. I was sitting at home and I was just thinking about, I was listening to the radio and I was like, man, I was just remembering things that I love so much. And I was also remembering like seeing things like the Temptations and these R&B groups, and they would have a review. And like if you saw, which I didn't, Ike and Tina Turner back in the day, they would do a bunch of hits, not their hits, but a bunch of hits by other people, and they had a review. And I thought, man, it would be nice and interesting in jazz to have something like that, but not like, you know, you go to a set and people call tunes, not like that. So I thought of a description for it, and it's really a soul jazz review. And we're running through those songs from people like Bobby Timmons and Cedar Walton all the way to Bob James and James Brown, you know, or not James Brown, but Pee Wee Ellis. We do a song by Pee Wee Ellis that was on the James Brown record on the B-side. And so it's just a bunch of fun, you know, because I have guys that, you know, they're all leaders in their own right, but so when we come together here, they have freedom, you know, to be who they are, but it's just really fun, and we enjoy listening to each other and listening to the music and making music.
How did you decide to put this group of musicians together? I mean, you got James Carter on one end, and then you got Jeremy Pelt, and then you got Johnathan Blake. I mean, Essiet Essiet. You have some heavyweights playing this heavyweight music.
Well, in doing a project like this, I'm fortunate that I have friends that I really enjoy. I'm a fan of James Carter, and even though he kicks my butt every night, I don't care about that. And yeah, I tell him it's a love-hate relationship. I love him because he plays so great, but I hate him because he plays so great, you know. And that's real, you know. Jeremy Pelt, and I remember when Jeremy first came to town, and I said it then. I said, man, if this guy keeps going, he's going to be an amazing player. And true to form, he's one of my favorite also. And each person in this band I've played with in different situations. Essiet and I, we were in Art Blakey's band together. Of course, he stayed for years. I had to make a decision between Art Blakey or Nat Adderley, and I went with Nat Adderley. David Kikoski is just one of my favorite. Man, I always love him. On the guitar, Paul Bolenbach is by far one of the most amazing musicians in the band, and I've known him for years. And originally I had a different guitarist in mind that it didn't work out with scheduling, but grateful to have Paul. And Johnathan Blake. Jonathan was one of my students at William Patterson University, and he's gone from being a good drummer to an amazing drummer, and certainly one of the best in the world. And so like I say, when we do this, we want it to be special, we want it to be fun. You know, we all go and we all do our normal gigs of what we do, but when we get together with this, it has to be special. So.
Vincent, you know, you brought up a term, soul jazz. Tell my viewers what the definition of soul jazz is. It's a very important part of jazz music, because there were some jazz musicians that really took their music and kind of tweaked it to where it's kind of homegrown.
Okay. Well, first of all, you know, when you ask just about the name jazz, it makes some people mad.
Right.
Nicholas Payton sent me an interview the other day of Miles Davis doing an interview, and the guy said something about jazz, and Miles went off. You know, didn't want that as a description of his music. But in our society, right or wrong, we've settled on the term jazz to kind of give you a picture of what the music is. Now, soul jazz, in the constraints of jazz, there have been certain musicians that just had a certain feeling for things. Like in Bobby Timmons comes to mind. Just had Bobby Timmons started playing in his original compositions, and you can't help but your body start moving, and just certain things. Certain people have that, and certain themes also present themselves that way. And so what we've done is almost like you have a box of Captain Crunch with crunch berries, and all of a sudden you just take all the crunch berries and you tap them right at one after another. So we've taken those kinds of themes and we've put them all together. And this particular group of guys, they've all grown up with these songs. Like the second set, we close with a song called The Groove, which is from Rodney Franklin. Now, who the hell would know The Groove? Exactly. You're a certain age, you do. And when we started planning the rehearsal, these guys, they were all just like, oh, that's what that song is. They all knew it and started playing it, and it just, so it brings a different kind of energy to everyone.
what we call soul jazz, we think of guys like you said, Bobby Timmons, Cannonball Adderley, Horace Silver.
Absolutely. Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones, right. They took elements of straight ahead jazz, but contemporary R&B and soul.
Yes, at the time, and got to bring in some gospel and the feeling, and all of that goes into it. And of course, we're all studied this music called jazz, and some of us have guys in this band, but people, some of us have a feeling for it, some don't. And in this particular case, all of us in this group have a feeling for all of that. So, for instance, Jeremy Can't Make a Job coming up. I'm like, who the hell am I gonna get? And I was able to get Randy Brecker. And Randy Brecker's got so much experience, and he knows this stuff. And I was just watching him on the tape with Shaka Khan the other day. You know, he's played with everybody. And so he has an understanding and a natural feeling for this. So it's gonna be seamless, you know. And so this is a project that I have, and I remember. Do you know who Lester Boy is? Of course, you know Lester Boy. And I used to admire how Lester had various groups always going. So he had this quartet. He had this, you know.
He had like a. He kept it going.
Yeah. So this is be a part of my musical profile, and I'll try to do as much as I can with it. But of course, it is a group of leaders. You know, not every day is James Carter going to be available. Not every day is Dave Kikoski or whoever going to be available. But I will always try to do something with this band in addition to my other projects.
Have you thought about recording something like this?
Oh, absolutely. That's been discussed, and it's going to happen. And it's just a matter of where it happens. You know, of course, I love Smoke Records, and that's who I've been recording for. And so we'll see if it works out for that.
Cannonball Adderley,
Mm-hmm.
very, very important to you, as well as Freddie Hubbard. Tell me what those two guys musically, what was the imprint that they laid on you musically, and what have you used from their elements of music for you as a band leader?
Okay. Well, both of those guys in particular, they're able to play naturally the way they play, and intellectually, the musician who's deep into whatever, they feel that, they get it, but at the same time, the person who knows nothing about music is able to feel it and enjoy it at a very high level, because both of them had that soulful feeling in everything they played. And even though both of them played some amazing things on a technical level and some very deep things musically, they never lost that natural soul and connecting to the people in their playing. And I worked with Nat Adderley, and I worked with Horace Silver, and I worked with Art Blakey. When I worked with Horace, I wasn't that developed of a musician, but I certainly absorbed many things from him. And when I worked with Nat for a longer duration of time, and Nat was all about that. It was just part of his music, and so it's something that I found over the years. I have a natural feeling. I feel that I'm lucky to be one of those musicians who has that natural kind of soulful feeling in his playing without changing anything about the way I play. And James, he's totally connected, and it's not about trying to do this or that. It's just a natural part of him. Jeremy, the same thing. All of these guys, which is why I went for those particular guys.
I noticed that their music also brought just a very unique element that hasn't been replicated. What was it those two brought to the unit, but what also did they do to change the scope of the quintet of that time?
Well, first of all, you're right. Your perception of it is absolutely right. And all of those things were in their natural environment. The church, pop music of the day, and they were aware and in tune with all of these things. And it just became a part of everything they did. And they just naturally loved that kind of soulful feeling. So a lot of things they did, they had the sophistication, but they also really had music geared towards soul, and people in the band wrote that way, and it became a component of their music that made it very successful. They were also open-minded, so in terms of like Yusef Lateef and things, love the idea of that. The actual real reason why they went to sextet, and this was something that shocked me, was because Cannon had some dental problems at the time, and he couldn't play that long, and his teeth were giving him problems. That was why they went to a sextet and hired Yusef Lateef and later Charles Lloyd.
Charles Lloyd, right.
And then there was a doctor, I can't remember his name now, but Nat said he fixed Cannonball's dentures up into his gum somehow, and Cannonball was able to play longer, and they no longer needed a sextet.
And another thing too, when they left Riverside Records, which they did some really, really banging straight ahead records.
Of course.
They went to Capitol, and Dave Cavanaugh, their producer, kind of got them to do a little bit of crossover too. Their records were a little more overproduced, as we might say.
David Axelrod.
Yeah.
I think it was also a sign of the times, and also they were viewing what was getting over with their audience. So I can't believe, they get this piano player, and he writes the way he writes. It's amazing, and things just worked out perfect and came together to create the sound of that band. It really did. And like for instance, Mercy, Mercy, Mercy. Nat told me that for months he was playing that, but he only had that's all he had. And he kept doing that over and over, and they were like, "Damn man, finish that tune." And he's like, okay, that was all he had. And then one day Nat said, "Just finish it, bam, bam, bam." And I said, "You gave him that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, and why not half the post? He said, "Because he finished a bunch of tunes for me too." We weren't like that. It was about They were, you know, a family atmosphere, and like I say, Nat said he helped him with his songs, and that one instance Nat came up with something that worked for that, and it's like, damn it, that works well, and that's how that became, you know, that song, you know. So it was just the atmosphere, and also the times, what was going on, other music around them, pop music of the day, everything was changing. They weren't like, we're only doing this in the tradition. They were just like, we're living our lives, we're playing music, we're enjoying ourselves. And so other elements came into it.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the famous Birdland Jazz Club here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank the talented Vincent Herring for his time. For more information on Vincent's upcoming tour dates, as well as to order his music, please visit him online at vincentherring.com. Also follow him on Facebook as well as Instagram. I'd like to thank the talented Scott Thompson for arranging my time with Vincent, as well as Lydia Liebman for arranging my time here to shoot Vincent here at Birdland. As always, people, I can't stress this more than enough. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos here on both YouTube and Vimeo, as well as follow me on Instagram, also Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.